Man, there were some great pitching performances. We have some decisions to make. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on April Fool's Day. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today on the show, we will recap Monday's action. It was a huge news day. Colton Cowser has a fractured thumb. Ronaldo Lopez went to the IL. Jurickson Profar popped for PEDs. Freeman re-injured his surgically repaired ankle while taking a shower. So there's that. Some strong waiver wire pitchers, team name Tuesday, and much more. It's going to be a fun show here. But first, happy belated birthday to Scott. We missed it yesterday. We are bad friends, Scott. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I don't expect you to remember, and I didn't make a whole big show of it.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know at either of your birthdays. I don't have. I'm sorry. I feel like that makes me a bad person, but I just don't have room in my brain for that because I know the words to every hit alternative rock song from the 1990s, and so there's no room for other things. More important.
Yours is like July 4th, or is it July 3rd?
It is July 4th. Yeah,
the exact day.
You're a better friend than me.
Well, my point was it's easy to remember because it's shared, and even then I didn't quite remember it. So it's not a big one. It's 41. Last year was a big one, but this one, I don't know. I probably don't have any more big ones for the next decade, at least.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was Facebook that reminded me, so thank you, Facebook. And I was reminded it was Scott's birthday, so happy belated birthday. Send him all the messages on Twitter, X, that you possibly can, and blow up his inbox. Let's get into Monday's action.
That ball had a family!
We will talk about the Reds in just a bit. They got a great start there from Brady Singer, and a big offensive game all around. Ellie De La Cruz, a signature performance. But, Scott, let's start with your player of the night, a pitcher you hyped up for much of the offseason.
Mm-hmm. And nobody was buying in. Thankfully, it's the single player I'm most invested in across my leagues, and it's Kris Bubic. Of course, dominated the Brewers in his first start of the season, his long-awaited return to the rotation, first start since early in 2023, when we got our first hints that this may be a new and improved Kris Bubic. He put it to the test here in this start, went great. 6 shutout innings, 8 strikeouts, 15 swinging strikes on 95 pitches. 11 on the fastball alone. You know, I love to see a guy dominate with his fastball. I think that's a strong indicator of upside. If a fundamental one, we've seen him get swinging strikes with the changeup in the past two. Didn't happen in this start, but that weapon is there in his arsenal. And I think good days are ahead for Kris Bubic if he's still available in your league. And he's pretty available, especially in non-CBS leagues. Should make a play for him. Make a strong push for him.
I think this is the first just go out and add him in every league performance of the season so far.
Even more than Jeffrey Springs, right?
Yeah.
I think Bubic, the situation's certainly a little better. I think the talent's a little better. Although I do like Springs. He was more widely rostered than Bubic at the time. I think Springs was at 65. Bubic was 60% rostered. That's pretty close. But, I think both of those guys are very close.
Yeah. Springs is up to 77% rostered. I believe he was one of the most added players on CBS this weekend. Bubic is currently 64% rostered and RP only on CBS. So reminder, if you play in a points league, that is a huge help. He's a SPARP. You could throw him in an RP spot. And that's a huge factor. If you play in roto or categories, then just start him because he looks like he's going to be really good. We'll have some more waiver wire decisions as we go through the course of this podcast. But I think as of now, Kris Bubic is at the very top of the list. Chris, let's go over to you for your player of the night.
I'm talking about Jordan Hicks, and I don't think he needs to be as widely rostered as Kris Bubic does, but I think this is another, I want to add him pretty much anywhere that I can because I think this was maybe the most exciting start of Jordan Hicks's career, which is funny because he just spammed sinkers for the most part. Remember last year, he got off to a really good start last year, and he was throwing his splitter a bunch and throwing a sweeper more, and it never felt sustainable, and ultimately it wasn't. But this time around, Jordan Hicks basically just looked like the reliever version of himself that was so hard to hit, except he did over 6 innings, and he sustained the velocity the entire time. He averaged 98 miles per hour with his sinker. That is bonkers. That is really hard to do over 6 innings. And I was watching this start. In the 6th inning, he started to dip a little bit. He had a handful that were like 95 to 97 miles per hour. And then he faced Yordan Alvarez with 2 outs in the 6th inning. It's going to be the last batter he faced all season or all game. Jeez.
I hope not.
98.9, 98.7, 98.2, and 97.7 from Jordan Hicks to get Yordan Alvarez out. It was really, really impressive. The sinker has always been incredibly difficult for opposing hitters to do anything with. And why I'm excited here is last season he showed that the splitter can be a really effective swing and miss pitch. And the sweeper's been really good for years. So if Jordan Hicks can sustain 97 miles per hour plus velocity on his sinker deep into games, something he did not do last year, and he's got that extended arsenal that we saw, I think there's reasons to be excited. If you are questioning whether it's sustainable, whether he can stay healthy, whether he can do this for long, yeah, I'm right there with you. But I think Jordan Hicks is 15% rostered right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll go ahead and say Jordan Hicks needs to be added in a lot of leagues.
Do you feel like he's going to be enough of a strikeout guy for like category use? Because I think in points leagues with the SPARP eligibility, and he could probably do well enough with run prevention, but particularly if he's going to ditch the splitter like we saw in this start, that was his best swing and miss pitch last year, and just lean into ground ball heavy approach. And he's always had control issues, so yeah. I wonder if the whip might run hot.
I'm just guessing here, but my read in watching this game was that he just didn't need anything but the sinker. And so that's why he didn't throw anything but the sinker. And if the Astros had been able to do anything with that pitch, he might have gone to something else. They also I think Yordan was the only left-handed batter in the lineup. And so he probably didn't need anything but the sinker. You typically don't want to throw sinkers to opposite-handed hitters. And so in lineups that have more lefties, I figure we'll see more 2-seamers, we'll see more splitters. He just didn't need it in this one. It was overpowering. And that's what gets me excited, is if it's the combination of the stuff from when he was a reliever and the arsenal that he showed last season, I think there could be more upside than we've seen from Jordan Hicks.
Jordan Hicks, as you mentioned, 15% rostered on CBS. The 3 most added pitchers this past weekend were Jeffrey Springs, Jack Leiter, Jose Soriano. Would you take Jordan Hicks over any of those 3?
I could maybe see it with Soriano just because I don't think there's tons of upside there. I think the median outcome is probably pretty similar, but maybe Hicks can find more upside. So I think it's fine. I don't think you should drop Jose Soriano. I think he should be pretty useful. But Hicks is on a better team. There might be some workload limitations. They pulled him after 72 pitches in this one. Obviously, there's an injury history there that makes it unlikely. But this early in the season, I'm okay shooting for upside when it shows up.
All right, let's talk about Brady Singer, who was amazing in his Reds debut up against a pretty tough lineup in the Texas Rangers. He threw 7 shutout innings, 1 hit, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, 15 whiffs on 92 pitches, 5 on the slider, 4 on the sinker, and 4 on the 4-seam fastball. And that was the big change for Singer in this first start. He mixed in a lot more 4-seam fastballs, 30% usage on that pitch versus 11% last year. Is that enough of a change, enough of an arsenal tweak, enough of a third pitch for him to sustain this and be really good all season? I mean, we know he's always used the sinker and the slider a lot. I'm not so sure. I mean, maybe you guys have more of a definitive answer on that, but maybe it is just having a straighter fastball to go along with the sinker, enough of a different look for Brady Singer to succeed here. He's 58% rostered. I'm assuming we're taking Kris Bubic over Brady Singer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The increased 4-seam use, first of all, he introduced it last year, but threw it like 11% of the time. He had been just sinker, sweeper before then. So still threw those 2 pitches like 80% of the time last year. But I had noticed the increase in 4-seamers this spring, and there were a couple starts where Singer got like a lot of strikeouts and the results were great. I didn't bring it up because I didn't feel confident that it was going to be a game changer for him, and I'm still not. But you have to, particularly on the heels of that spring, you have to like the initial returns here. I just don't know that it's going to turn him into enough of a bat misser to erase the downside that comes with him going from Kansas City to Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I'd be fearful of him being anything more than a streamer type. He might be at the higher end of streamer types, but I'm skeptical there's a lot of upside. But we have seen small little hints of it that at least give me an open mind.
Here's the thing with Singer. I want to be out. I just don't think there's anything exciting here. I think he could be useful. I think he's a streamer, like Scott said. The schedule lines up beautifully for him. This is what his next 4 starts would be if he stays on schedule. Brewers, Pirates, Mariners, Marlins.
That's great.
He should be worth starting in all 4 of those. And Brady Singer might be sitting at the end of April with a 3 ERA and like 3 or 4 wins. So I'm not rushing out to add him. I wouldn't pass on the upside of Bubic, certainly, but even like Jordan Hicks, I think I'd rather see if this is going to work out, if they're both available. But if you need a starting pitcher, if you just lost Reynaldo Lopez, I think Brady Singer is going to be really useful for at least the next month or so.
Where does Singer rank among Jeffrey Springs, Jack Leiter, Soriano? That group I mentioned. They're, again, the most added starting pitchers on CBS.
He's probably behind all of them. Maybe Soriano is ahead just because Singer should be more useful in the short term. But at this point in the season, I'm pretty much always going to be chasing upside, and I just don't think Brady Singer has a ton of it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think the likeliest scenario is that he's no lower than 3rd. The likeliest scenario is Leiter is the worst of them.
Yeah, I agree with that, even though I like Leiter more than you do.
Right. I think in the typical fantasy league, 12 teams or less, you chase the upside of Leiter right now and trust that pitchers comparable to Singer will be there if you have to turn to them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's take our first break. When we return, we'll talk about a few other doozies here from Monday. Kris Paddack. Oh, my gosh. Come on, Twins. Let's just
matchups aren't everything, it turns out.
Who knows? Maybe the White Sox can actually hit. Probably not. But we'll talk about that right after this.
Guys, can you feel it? Legends were born here. History was made here. These are hallowed grounds.
Hallowed grounds? The NCIS squad room?
Well, I wasn't talking about that, but I was talking about Augusta National.
All right. It's finally time for the Masters. I hear it's a tradition unlike any other.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today, going over the standouts from Monday. Kris Paddack stood out for all of the worst reasons. So our apologies to anybody who streamed Kris Paddack. Oh, man, 3 1/3, 9 runs allowed, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, 3 homers allowed in the start at the White Sox. It was 39 degrees in that game, and he still gave up 3 homers, which is everything you need to know, I guess, about Kris Paddack. Minus 13 fantasy points on CBS, and I really do think that we could see Zebby Matthews or David Festa. My guess is Zebby Matthews pretty soon in the Twins rotation.
Yeah, I would hope it's David Festa just because I really need pitching in the Scott White Dynasty League, but I get Zebby Matthews was more exciting this spring, and I would probably go with him on the merits. Look, Paddack has played up in the bullpen at times, in the postseason especially. He's looked really good pitching out of the pen, so maybe that's the answer, and they just get another bullpen weapon out there. But yeah, there hasn't been anything to get excited about outside of 1 or 2 starts here and there in 4 years for Kris Paddack.
Look, I could point to the fact his induced vertical break was up 3 inches, making it 20 overall, and that the average exit velocity was less than 80 miles per hour. Like, there are positives you could take from this start if you really wanted to. But Kris Paddack got throttled by the White Sox. Yeah. And so I don't really want, and He seemed like, when you're looking among the class of starting pitchers that you could call streamers, he seemed like one of the most encouraging ones. And it's just a reminder, if I don't bring it up enough, I think I do, but if I don't bring it up enough, streaming is a sucker's game. And you don't want to be careless with it, especially in roto leagues where you're stuck with that crooked pitching line all season. And if you are, I would have been too if I had won him in Fab. I was outbid for him. So clearly it was a trendy streamer pick. I wasn't alone. We weren't alone in thinking that he made for a decent streamer. But I'm glad I didn't get suckered into that. Like it's not something that you want to live off, especially early in the season when we don't really know what's what. And we've seen a lot of players turn on a dime coming out of spring training, pitchers especially. And, try to remember that for next year. I'll try to remember that for next year because it is, you don't want to get burned by it. And if you did start Chris Paddack and he lines up for a second start against the Astros, pray. I would say just pray. There's never a bad reason to pray, but this is a good place to start.
I will say it was a pretty good start in my IVB league. So that was nice.
There you go, Chris. The lineup of the night, I was going to highlight the Reds, and I still will, but turns out they weren't the highest scoring team of the night because the Cubs have 16 runs, and that game is still going. Interestingly enough, the first game there out in Sacramento. So is this any indication of how this ballpark is going to play? I don't know. I think obviously we need some more games, and we'll see. Mm-hmm. But Reds had a big game, 14 runs on 14 hits. Elly De La Cruz, just one of those signature performances, 4 for 5 with 2 socks and a shoe, 4 runs, 27 RBI. He had 5 hard hits in this game. The home runs,
5 batted balls over 99 miles an hour in this one.
Yeah, the home runs, 110.2 exit velocity and 107.2. He put up 24 fantasy points on CBS. That's basically a quality start and a win from a starting pitcher. He did that in one game as a hitter. So
that's a good week from a hitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one game for Elly De La Cruz. Matt McClain, by the way, 2 for 3 with his third home run. He added 4 runs and 3 RBI. He's off to a great start. 5 for 16 with 3 homers, 1 walk to 5 strikeouts. That's a 28% strikeout rate. So let's follow that to see where it goes for McClain. Who did they do all this damage off of? Kumar Rocker. Sorry. 3 innings, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 homers allowed in this one. He did have 10 whiffs on 74 pitches, but 9 hard hits allowed, lots of hard contact in this one. And Rocker was 73% rostered. I assume we would be okay dropping him for Bubic.
Oh, yeah.
Singer,
Bubic for sure.
Singer,
I would have rather had Bubic before.
Yeah.
Do you drop him for Singer and Jordan Hicks?
I don't blame you if you do that. Rocker is the higher upside guy, but I don't imagine he can afford to have too many more of these before he's sent down. And I don't think you're going to get a lot of activity. He's going to see a lot of activity on your waiver wire if you do drop him. I don't know what to make of him, what's going on with his arsenal, because he struggled in spring training like this until his final 2 starts, where he seemed to scrap the slider, the amazing world-beating slider, for a curveball that was about 6 miles per hour slower. And I don't know if it was the pitch was not actually that distinct. It was just different velocity bands. It could be. His breaking ball has always been kind of hard to classify to begin with. But the final 2 spring starts, he had that 6 mile per hour slower one, got a ton of whiffs, looked great. Then went back to the more conventional slider that was like 84, and it didn't.
It got whiffs. It just also got crushed.
I don't know.
The bigger problem here was the 4-seamer was just bad. 1 whiff, 8 balls in play with a 98 mile per hour average exit velocity. The command was not very good. He was either sitting in the middle of the zone, especially with the 4-seamer, or missing down with the slider. He's far from a finished product. We knew that coming in. I still think it's an electric arm, but like him and Jack Leiter have been very close to one another in the rankings. Jack Leiter had the better first start, so I'll give him the edge. I'd hang on to him ahead of Rocker. I would prefer not to drop Rocker for Singer just because Singer doesn't have the upside, but I feel a lot more confident starting Singer next week. So, we'll see.
All right, before we hit the news and notes, just a few things to promote here. Subscribe to the FBT newsletter if you haven't already. That's cbssports.com/newsletters. If you're watching on YouTube, scan that QR code in the top right corner. That will take you right to the website where, again, you can sign up for free. That'll get delivered to your email inbox every weekday of the season. And thanks for watching live on YouTube. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. News and notes, there was a lot. Freddie Freeman was out of the lineup Monday. Apparently, he re-aggravated his surgically repaired ankle while showering on Saturday night. In fact, getting into the shower, that's what they're saying happened here. He's day-to-day, but who knows? I mean, this ankle already wasn't perfect entering spring. They said he's going to be getting work on it for the first half of the season, basically. And now he re-aggravated it. So I really don't know what happens here, but it's not great.
I know Scott loves a Simpsons reference, so I'll just go with you remember when Mookie Betts missed like 2 weeks because of a stomach virus, and we were like, oh, this is the dumbest way that the Dodgers repeat chances have been hurt. And then Homer comes in and puts his arm around you and says, it's the dumbest way the Dodgers repeat chances have been hurt so far. It's been a weird couple of weeks, and they're 6-0.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I would, if you have Freeman, I would hope you've already picked up one of Torkelson, Soderstrom, Manzardo. I said them not in the order I prefer them. Manzardo's looking better and better, by the way. I wish he actually had first base eligibility.
Yeah, that's the one problem I've got. In a league where I've got him, I think I also have Marcell Ozuna. I'm like, I can't use him.
Maybe somebody dropped Rhys Hoskins, picking up one of those guys, or Michael Tolia. You
Ben
need
Rice.
to insure Freeman, is my point. Because, I don't think he's going to miss much time here, but it's clearly not going away. Yeah. He's performed fine throughout. I mean, limping in the playoffs, he had a historic performance in the World Series, obviously. So I'm not so worried about him performance-wise. It's just availability. And that could get frustrating if you don't have a good alternative.
Yeah, I actually benched him in my home league for Cam Smith. I don't even know if that's the right call, but I put Ryan Mountcastle at first, Freeman at corner, and then I subbed him out for Cam Smith. So we'll see. It is frustrating. Hopefully he's in the lineup over the next couple days. Scott, I'm sorry, man. It was kind of a rough birthday for your Atlanta Braves. We got some bad news. Ronaldo Lopez to the IL with right shoulder inflammation. He dealt with the same injury last year, as well as an elbow injury that he dealt with. The velocity was down during spring training. Then it was back up in his first start here of the season. But it turns out that he does have to go on the IL. Bryce Elder was recalled, but I'm guessing we don't really have much interest in him for fantasy.
No.
Wouldn't say so. It does sound like a minor thing for Reynaldo Lopez, the way it was described on the broadcast. He got through his bullpen session fine. It's not like there was some dramatic incident, but then he went and talked to the trainers afterward, and they decided to put him on the IL. So, and remember, in the second half last year, he went on the IL twice for similar issues. Came back, looked great. So I'm hopeful Lopez is back before Strider is back even. But anytime you get an injury to the elbow, or in this case, the shoulder, it could lead to further trouble. So no guarantees there. But that's not even the biggest and baddest thing that happened to the Braves today. That's the smaller one.
Yeah, well, next up, Jurickson Profar has been suspended 80 games for violating the PED policy and maybe contributed to his breakout last season, although I read his statement. He said he got tested 8 times last year and was negative every time, but then failed a test this offseason.
That is what he said.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I can't imagine many people are giving him the benefit of the doubt, given the timing of it. 11-year vet has a massive breakout, sets career highs off the board. How did it happen? And then the very start of the next year, he fails a PED test. I'm just saying nobody's giving him the benefit of the doubt. And I think that's reasonable. I think if you try to make other explanations for it, you sound pathetically naive, is the way I put it in my article about him. So I'm not going to do that. And like, first things first, you're probably just dropping him. Right. 80 games, that means he's out until almost the All-Star break.
Can't IL him.
Can IL him.
Unless you're in one of those leagues where you have like an NA spot. And
exactly.
That
like
shouldn't
Yahoo
exist,
leagues
but
sometimes have an NA spot, which is just not active, and you can put suspended players in that. Even then, I imagine you're going to need that NA spot for an injured player at some point in the next 3 months. But, if it's not full yet, go ahead and stash Profar there. Maybe you can hold out. NL only league, you probably hold on to him. Dynasty, you probably hold on to him, especially if it's one where you keep him at a discount, which I imagine he is at a discount in a lot of those leagues. So that's first things first. It sucks, but in most cases, I think you just have to drop him because you can't afford to play without a bench spot for that long. Beyond that, what does this mean for Profar long term? I mean, it's anybody's guess. Obviously, there was always a high possibility that his 2024 season was just a fluke, and that remains in play. I will point out that in the long history of players getting suspended for PEDs, most of them come back exactly the same. There's not really a drop-off. It's not like they turn into a pumpkin afterward. Now, most of them are either awesome, Hall of Fame caliber, or were never good in the first place.
Yeah.
There have been very few like this with Profar that have had a career season and then a PED suspension right afterwards. So he is kind of a test case there. You would think that would happen a lot more often than it has. Melky Cabrera is the closest example I could think of.
D. Gordon.
Okay.
That was one that stood out for me. I mean, obviously, very different player, but he was never really the same after that suspension.
Okay, he was never much of a power hitter, and there was Everett Cabrera was the same, sort of the same way. He was just such a light hitter. I'm not sure he was even good in the first place. He just happened to have a year where he hit for average. But Melky Cabrera is the main one that stands out for me. And he was never as good as that season where he got the PED suspension, but he was better after the suspension than in the years before the suspension. And then there's Chris Colabello. People point him out sometimes. He, longtime independent league guy, got a chance in the minors in his late 20s, made it to the majors, had a good year for Toronto, PED suspension, never the same. Of course, he was like 33 at that point. So the point is, like, there isn't, from looking back at PED suspension history, there is nothing to suggest Jurickson Profar is going to turn back into a pumpkin now. He may, because that was a threat all along. I just don't know that the PED suspension makes that more conclusive necessarily.
Brian De La Cruz started in left field Monday for the Braves. I guess Alex Verdugo could get some run once he's up to speed. Obviously, he was signed really late during spring training, and he's down in the minors, kind of prepping. The Braves also acquired Stuart Fairchild on Monday. Michael Harris led off with Profar suspended, so I thought that's pretty interesting because maybe that could help Michael Harris's value in the meantime. If the Braves start to hit, of course, because that's another.
They did. He ended the 28 inning scoreless streak or whatever it was with a solo homer off. They
did score one run.
Yeah.
We
need more than that. So we need more.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been a nightmare start for them. I do wonder if if this makes them a little less patient with Ronald Acuna. I know that they're trying to think long term with this injury. But I do wonder if maybe that pushes it more to early May than mid-May. we'll see.
All right, some good Braves news. Sean Murphy will begin a rehab assignment at AAA on Tuesday, so perhaps we see him in the next week or two there. Colton Cowser, another big news item here.
I feel really bad for Drake Baldwin because he's hitting the ball really well. He's actually looked really good. I think he was like 2 feet short of a home run today, and he's got nothing to show for it. His OPS is like in the 192 OPS. But he's actually hit the ball much better than that. And it's not been a great start for a guy we were hoping could get some runway with Murphy out. So that's frustrating.
All right. Did Carson Kelly just hit for the cycle? I think he did.
Strange things are afoot in Sacramento.
All right. I don't know if someone can confirm that, but I think that's a thing that just happened.
Hit for the cycle, on base 6 times.
Oh my gosh.
Did he just get a triple? Is that?
Yeah, he did.
That's
wow.
incredible.
Oh man. All right. We'll talk about the Cubs a little bit later on. Colton Cowser placed in the IL with a fractured left thumb. He suffered the injury on a slide into first base.
Don't slide into first base, dummies. He's
expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks at minimum. And this does open up playing time for Heston Kjerstad, who was in the lineup on Monday, even against a lefty. He's 30% rostered, former 2nd overall pick. He's 26 years old, and he was awesome in AAA last season. We've been trying to find ways to get him in the Orioles lineup. I think this is one of those ways.
Yeah, and hopefully it goes well. I have no... I have no insight into whether it will or not. You know, he can hit the ball hard. He made contact at a nice rate in the minors, hasn't so far in the majors. We'll just have to see if he makes good on the opportunity. I suppose in deeper leagues, we didn't get into this with Profar, but I suppose in deeper leagues, Heston Kjerstad could be a ready-made replacement there. I'd like him better than anybody on the Braves. I will just say, and I'll leave it for the article if you want to go look into more potential replacements for Profar. Especially in a points league, really in any league, if Lars Nootbaar is out there still.
64% rostered right now.
Yep.
That is, like, he may give you exactly what you were hoping for from Profar. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
With the plate discipline, batting leadoff, all of that. That is as perfect of a replacement as you could dream up. He just hit his 2nd home run of the season. Launch angle's way up this year to the degree that matters in the tiny sample. But he's looking good, and I think profile's very similar to the ideal for Profar.
Yeah, and I think a totally fine Colton Cowser replacement as well. We will talk a little bit more about injury replacements in just a bit. Garrett Crochet and the Red Sox are in agreement on a huge extension, 6 years, $170 million. The deal won't go into effect until the 2026 season. It does include an opt-out after the 2030 season. So big extension there for Garrett Crochet, well-deserved, and hopefully he can stay healthy and just build off of this for years to come. I hope so.
Big risk for Boston. It doesn't feel like there's any discount baked into there.
Mm-hmm. Jose Ramirez was back in the lineup on Monday after missing 1 game with a sprained right wrist. I think last he had 3 hits in that game, including a home run. So yeah, great first game back. Gunnar Henderson is on track to return when first eligible on Thursday. Francisco Lindor out of the lineup Monday for the birth of his child. Trey Turner reported improvement with his lower back spasms and is aiming to return to the lineup on Wednesday. Gleyber Torres went on the IL with a left oblique strain. Colt Keith started at second base. Torkelson at first, with Justin Henry Malloy starting at DH. He actually led off this game. So very deep league outfielder I think you can look at as well, especially if he's leading off. Jared Jones was shifted to the 60-day IL. He is out with a right UCL sprain. Max Scherzer visited a hand specialist on Monday. He's on the IL with that ongoing thumb issue. Christian Encarnacion Strand left after getting hit by a pitch on his right hand. X-rays came back negative. Michael Soroka left his start with a trainer due to a cramp in his right bicep. He was not great before leaving that start. Would you guys drop Soroka for any of the names we mentioned earlier?
Any of them. I will say, and we don't know the status of the hand if he's going to need an IL stint or anything. That would make it even easier. he did continue what we wanted him to continue from last year when we saw his strikeout spike in relief for the White Sox. It was a harder fastball. It was a slower, I can't remember if it's classified as a slider. Okay, slider. Pitch selection was similar to that time. He went with that approach, but it just seems like he's lost all command of it. It happened late in spring. And
I'm okay hanging on to him in a points league because of the RP eligibility, but obviously if Bubic is available, you'd rather have him because he's also RP eligible. And Hicks is RP eligible?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think so. So that might be enough to keep Soroka around. But I'm obviously not thrilled about what we saw today.
And that's just if you want to take advantage of that specialty eligibility in that sort of league. I mean, just full disclosure, we had Mike Soroka on our shared roto team on NFBC. And before the season even started, with the way he looked at the end of spring training, we dropped him for Jonathan Aranda, getting an extra bench bat there. So that's where we are on Soroka.
Aaron Savali went on the IL with a strained left hamstring, and some Marlins updates. Edward Cabrera will begin a rehab assignment at AAA on Tuesday. He's on the IL with a blister on his right middle finger. Ryan Weathers is expected to begin a throwing progression later this week. And Yuri Perez is scheduled to face hitters for the first time on Tuesday. Let's take our final break, and when we return, we'll talk more about those waiver wire pitchers making some decisions. We'll do that right after this.
Baby, we are gonna start a fire.
From world-renowned clubs
Simply devastating.
to worldwide stars.
Wrexham have done it. This incredible ride continues.
The English Football League on CBS Sports Network, and stream every match live on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. We've talked a lot about Kris Bubic, Brady Singer, two names we have not mentioned yet. Drew Rasmussen, who pitched well for his first win of the season up against the Pirates, 5 shutout innings with 4 strikeouts. He built up to 70 pitches. I think he's still slowly building and working his way back. Only through 28 and 2/3 innings last year, but now back in the Rays rotation. And David Peterson looked good up against the Marlins. 6 innings, 2 runs, had 9 strikeouts, 11 whiffs on 89 pitches. I guess let's rank all 5 if Jordan Hicks is part of this group. Bubic, Singer, Hicks, Rasmussen, David Peterson. How do you rank the 5?
Rasmussen is about as rostered as Bubic, right?
Yeah.
64%, and he's RP only on CBS.
Yeah, I feel like he's not that far behind. In fact, coming in, I might have, as much as I like Bubic, I might have put Rasmussen ahead. I would put Bubic ahead now. I think there's clearly more strikeout potential, but Rasmussen has a long history. Great ground ball guy, great control guy, really low ERAs. He's relief pitcher eligible himself, obviously, for leagues where that matters. I think he's must add.
My only problem is I think it's going to be a short leash. I think it's going to be a lot of 5 inning starts. It's the Rays. He threw 35 innings last year. He's had a long injury history. I think he's had Tommy John twice. So that's my only thing, is just I think there's going to be a limited volume here. They're going to skip some starts. They're going to be pretty cautious with him. That's the only thing holding me back. I think Drew Rasmussen is super talented. I think he's going to be good. It's just there's going to be some frustration along the way. So I would go Bubic, Rasmussen, Hicks, Singer, Peterson.
All right. Yeah, I think I would go Bubic, Rasmussen, Singer, Peterson, and then Hicks. But yeah, those last 2, it's kind of cool. It feels like none of us are buying. We're just not buying like David Peterson. He was awesome in the second half last year. He had a really good spring, and obviously his first start here was really good. But
yeah, I mean the 2.95. What was it? A 2.95 ERA for Peterson last year. 2.90, even better. That came with a xERA and xFIP both over 4.
Yeah,
good ground ball guy, but not the best control. And we've seen his slider. It got a pretty good number of whiffs in this start, and we've seen it be a good swing and miss pitch in the past. But I just don't know that that's enough of a focal point for him. Yeah, let's see him do it against a team other than the Marlins.
What did you guys make of Cade Povic's first start here? He was up against the Red Sox, 4 1/3, 3 runs allowed. Did have 8 strikeouts, but 10 whiffs on 94 pitches. I know, obviously there was some hype on him coming into the season. What'd you make of this start?
Happy to free up a roster spot if I hadn't dedicated one to him. It was one of those like cast a wide net and hope you corral a couple of breakouts.
Yeah, you should have a couple of guys on your roster who, if they have a good start at the start of the season, you're willing to keep them around. And if not, get them out of there for the next hot thing. I think the problem with Povic is it's like the stuff isn't good enough for the command, or the command isn't good enough for the stuff. It's like he's not terrible at either, but neither is impressive. And yeah, I didn't see a step forward yet. It's one start, but it's not like he has any kind of track record to go on.
Mm-hmm. So you're okay dropping him for any of the names we just talked about, the 5?
Yeah.
Any of them.
Yeah.
All right. 3 very deep league names who pitched well on Monday. Martin Perez, 6 no-hit innings in his White Sox debut against the Twins. He walked 3. He had 9 strikeouts in this one. German Marquez pitched well at the Phillies. Tough matchup there. 6 shutout, 4 hits, 0 walks with 4 strikeouts. And Kyle Hart, who is now on the Padres, looked pretty good in his first start up against the Guardians. 5 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts, did allow 2 homers, had 10 whiffs on 80 pitches, and he is the latest pitcher to go over to the KBO, dominate. He won their version of the Cy Young. He came back and obviously looking to recreate himself in the majors. Very deep league names, but any interest in those 3?
Marquez is the most talented. Hart is the most interesting.
Yeah, I have Hart in a couple of really deep leagues, like 24-team leagues that no listener probably plays in. Just in case, the lower arm angle on the fastball, the sweeper he picked up in Korea, just in case they turn him into a respectable pitcher here. Inconclusive after this first start, whether that's going to be a thing. Marquez, he's got an ERA around 4.50 in his career because he pitches in Colorado. Mm-hmm. So I just don't think there's much reason to mess with that. And
if he gets traded, I still think he can be a useful pitcher, but
sure. Yeah. Martin Perez, I think that's a case of the blind squirrel.
Uh-oh. Are we getting a birthday edition of Robo Scott? I think he moved back and is frozen again. So
oh no.
You're back. What?
I'm back.
No. Your audio's back.
Well, hopefully.
Well, now your audio's not back.
All right. Well, we'll try and work through it. Let's talk injury replacements. Colton Cowser and Jurickson Profar. Profar not injured, but you do need a replacement. We spoke about Lars Nootbaar, Victor Scott. Very different skill set, I think, than both of the players that we lost here. But he had 2 more hits on Monday. He's 60% rostered. I think Jorge Soler could be an option in a head-to-head points league. He's 58% rostered, and when he's at his best, it's a good OBP. It's a lot of home runs. So we're still waiting. We haven't, gotten much from him so far, but really small sample size. All 3 very different players, but how would you guys rank Nootbaar, Victor Scott, and Soler as replacements here?
In that order.
Would you put Scott ahead of Soler in points?
If you want to go Soler ahead of Scott in points, I think that's fine. But
yeah,
I actually did mention a couple others in the article that I said I wasn't going to mention on the show, but now I'm going to, since we're getting into it. And I was thinking kind of points leagues in mind with Jung-Hoo Lee. Michael Conforto has been dropped. His roster rate has gone down. He did sit once against the lefty, but I still think the upside in that lineup, if he can continue what he showed away from San Francisco last year, is very high. And TJ Friedel batting leadoff for the Reds again. And, he proved last year amid all the injuries that the power from 2023 was legit. That was the most questionable part of that 18 homer, 27 steal season. So I think there's a lot of sneaky upside there with TJ Friedel.
I'll also mention Tommy Pham, who's hitting leadoff for the Pirates. I don't think there's much upside there, but it could be useful.
I have some deeper league names here as well as outfield replacements. We had Heston Kjerstad, who we spoke about, is 32%. Mm-hmm. Max Kepler had his first good game with the Phillies. He went 3 for 4 with a double and a home run. He has started 3 of 4 games. Miguel
That's
Vargas,
the one. That's really the one. Kepler at 21% rostered. I mean, less than Kjerstad, who didn't even have a job. I don't know what's going on with this Kepler roster rate. Whether it's a points league or a roto league, the power, the swing changes he made with Kevin Long this spring, getting in his lower body more, elevating to his pull side more, after his body was all kinds of messed up last year. And you mentioned he sat one game. It's not a platoon situation, though. Even though he's a left-handed batter, they don't really have a dedicated platoon partner for Max Kepler. So I think he's going to be in the lineup, a really good lineup, by the way, every day. I think Kepler is more interesting now than maybe even Michael Conforto, who's much more rostered and who I also like.
You prefer him to Alan Rodin?
Yeah, because Rodin, I think, has he sat yet? I don't imagine him playing against left-handers at this stage.
He sat one game, but it was against a righty. So
right.
Maybe
they haven't faced a left-hander yet.
Yeah, just like a day off for him early on. And he's batting 9th in the lineup. So, yeah, I think I'd rather have Kepler, too.
I've had to drop Rodin in a couple 5 outfielder leagues just because I needed something else more. As much as I like the profile, I don't know how long it's going to take for it to pay dividends.
Long-term, would you rather have Kepler than Austin Hayes?
Yeah.
Who I'm hoping is back this weekend. It didn't sound like a serious injury.
I like both of them, though.
Yeah.
If Austin Hayes is going to hit cleanup like they said before the season, there could be a lot of value there. So I think they're kind of similar. I would have similar expectations for both players.
When in doubt, I take the guy who walks over the guy who doesn't.
Well, I was just going to say, when in doubt, take the guy who's not currently hurt.
That's a good. That's a good rule of thumb. Yeah.
Gleyber Torres is hurt. We mentioned that, so you might be looking for a second base replacement or a middle infielder or something like that. Michael Garcia off to a nice start here, 1 for 3 with his second home run, 2 runs and 2 RBI. Didn't start on opening day, but has started 3 games since. And he's second and third eligible. Has already made 2 appearances in the outfield as well. Otto Lopez, he might be legitimately good. I don't know. 3 for 5 with his second home run. He's got 2 3-hit games and 5 outings so far. He's got 4 runs, 6 RBI, a steal. He's 28% rostered. I think I would take Otto Lopez straight up over Michael Garcia, but they're both off to good starts. So
Michael Garcia, the skills are there, right? He makes contact. He's athletic. He can hit the ball hard. He usually hits the ball hard on the ground and not in the air, which is the problem. But he does already have 2 barrels this season. He only had 18 all of last season. So maybe there's something there. I tried to look more into the numbers. I don't think there's a ton that's changed so far, but he has more upside than Otto Lopez. But I think Lopez is very useful as well. So I think it's fine, but I'll give Michael Garcia the edge.
These names are not injury replacements, but they are both widely available. Hunter Goodman is getting a lot of playing time early on, 1 for 4 with his first home run. He has started all 4 games for the Rockies, 3 of those at catcher, 1 at DH. He has hit cleanup 2 games in a row, and Hunter Goodman is 29% rostered. If we're talking second catcher, would you guys rather have Hunter Goodman or Alejandro Kirk?
Goodman.
Yeah, the fact Goodman started every game, I did not see that coming.
No, I mean, they explicitly said that Jacob Stallings was their starter at catcher and Hunter Goodman was the backup. And now Goodman has started, 3 of the first 4 games at catcher and DH the one that he didn't start at catcher. So if you had told me he was going to basically be an everyday player before the season, he probably would have been a top 20 catcher for me. I think there's huge upside. He's got 44 career home runs in 150 games between AA and AAA. There are big swing and miss issues, but there aren't many catchers with any kind of upside, let alone legitimate upside like Hunter Goodman has. And he hit his first home run today. So he's going to be a top 20 catcher when I update my rankings later this week.
Hunter Goodman or Jonah Heim, who had a 2-homer game already?
It's going to be Goodman for me over any fringy catcher.
Okay, so
Agreed.
over Dylan Dingler as well, who had 3 hits here on Monday.
I mean, look, Dylan Dingler, a legend on my AL only labor team already. But yes, Hunter Goodman over Dylan Dingler.
Nice. Wilmer Flores flexing the muscles early on, 2 for 4 with his 3rd home run. And he had 4 RBI as well. He has started all 4 games. He is basically the starting DH for the Giants with Gerard Encarnacion hurt. And he's 5% rostered. This is, deep league corner infielder. Maybe, you need a Freddie Freeman replacement, something like that. Deep leagues, would you guys rather speculate on Wilmer Flores or Gavin Sheets, who had I think a 3-hit game here on Monday, 4 RBI?
Gavin Sheets, just because, I mean, like we have this discussion with pitchers. We've had it already a lot this year. There is no upside to speak of for Wilmer Flores. He could be an okay fallback. But Sheets might amount to something with the changes he's made to his swing. Obviously had a big spring off to a good start this year. I'm not saying it's a high probability scenario, but at least there's a chance.
All right, well, let's
like the mystery box versus a boat. This is a mystery box versus a leaky dinghy. So just take the mystery box.
All right, let's get into some leftovers here from Monday. Bowden Francis is picking up right where he left off. He took a no-hitter into the 6th inning up against the Nationals. He had 4 strikeouts, 3 walks is kind of weird for him, but did give up a couple home runs in this game. Bowden Francis is such a weird one to figure out. Even in this start, I think it's just that his fastball is unique, and I think it profiles well. He gets a lot of extension. It's good IVB on the fastball. He throws it a lot, but I think it kind of works.
So far.
Yeah.
This is kind of what I was referring to earlier, though, where we were moderately high on Bowden Francis. I don't think we thought he was a sure thing, but okay, he's interesting enough. He could be a whip specialist, especially, that we ranked him reasonably high. And then we just kind of backed off him this spring because
he had an awful spring.
Exactly. And I don't think we would have done that if he was more established. Like we didn't really have a good read on Bowden Francis to begin with, but I don't know. I feel like we go through this every year where it's like we try not to overvalue spring performance, but for players who aren't well established, we still end up doing it in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Even with Arrighetti, we kind of did that, and his first start was great against the Mets. Really
and one start isn't conclusive, but
course,
you'd rather a good start than a bad one.
And I mean, in both of those cases, it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example of a pitcher that I was drafting ahead of them by the end. I mean, obviously Clay Holmes, but I'm not even thinking that big of a riser.
Luzardo?
Gavin Williams came to mind, but he was a huge riser, obviously.
Man.
I mean, and obviously Gore and Luzardo have been great, and I ranked Francis and Arrighetti ahead of them originally, I'm sure, and eventually moved them behind them, but I don't know. You get the idea, even if I can't think of a specific example.
Yeah. 2 hitters off to great starts on new teams. So Tyler O'Neill, 4 for 4 with a double, 2 runs, and an RBI. He did not have a single 4-hit game last year in 113 games with the Red Sox. He already has one now with the Orioles. And cleanup hitter, Andres Jimenez, 2 for 2 with a walk, a sock, and a shoe. He's already up to 3 homers in 5 games. He had just 9 home runs all of last year in 152 games. He actually attempted 2 steals in this game, but got caught once. You can't ask for more. I mean, Andres Jimenez is off to a fantastic start, as is Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah, I'm more interested in O'Neill. I think there may be more, like there's clearly more upside for O'Neill, and I think there's what I was hoping to see him improve upon. He has 1 strikeout in 17 plate appearances. Tiny sample, but guy who struck out 34% of the time last year, normally more like 25 to 27%. So it's nice to see him improving that contact rate early on. I don't think there's any reason to think Jimenez is going to go on some kind of home run binge here that transforms his outlook in fantasy.
This is already the greatest home run binge of his career. He has never had 3 home runs in 5 games before. He also hit his home run 100 miles per hour today. It's not like he's socking dingers or anything. So I think both of these are just something that happens. And it happened for these two guys at the beginning of the season, but it doesn't mean it's more relevant because it happened now. He's going to hit 260, 270 with 8 to 15 homers, and he has 3 of them already. That's all it is, I think.
Yeah, and again, that was Andres Jimenez we were talking about. The other player was Tyler O'Neill. Some pitching leftovers. First up, the good. Tyler Glasnow looks exactly that. Pretty good against the Braves. 5 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts here, 13 whiffs on 79 pitches. Christopher Sanchez looked pretty good up against the Rockies. 5 1/3 with 1 run, 7 strikeouts, 15 whiffs on 93 pitches. Velocity was up quite a bit there for Christopher Sanchez. Anything to add on him or Glasnow?
With the caveat that it's the Rockies, I thought Christopher Sanchez looked phenomenal. He basically made 1 mistake to Hunter Goodman, and other than that, he was in total control. The stuff looked great. He didn't sacrifice command for the velocity. I don't think top 30 would be a too aggressive ranking for him. I'm not going there yet, but I think that's a reasonable range to put Christopher Sanchez in. And then Tyler Glasnow was even better than the line. He got squeezed pretty bad by the umpire there. So yeah, I think Tyler Glasnow will be awesome, and Christopher Sanchez looks like a really high upside pitcher right now.
All 3 pitches up about 2 miles per hour for Sanchez, which we were seeing in spring, but it doesn't mean he had to continue it into the regular season. Yeah, he looks really good. I'm trying to decide from the one highlight circulating on Twitter if Carson Kelly is using a torpedo bat. It's kind of far away. I can't tell. I know Dansby Swanson and Nico Horner are said to be, but is Carson Kelly? I heard a note on the Braves broadcast tonight. Sandy Leone, journeyman veteran catcher, was the only Brave using a torpedo bat this spring, and he led the team in. I can't remember if it was OPS or slugging. He led the team in one of them.
In slugging, yeah, I heard that. I heard that exact quote in the game. I don't know. I mean,
just typing it up for no reason.
It might be a thing. We're on torpedo watch out here.
It doesn't look like a torpedo to me. I'm looking at the triple here. He wags his bat a lot, but I don't. That's not a torpedo. That's a normal bat.
Yeah. A bit of a confusing start here for Ronel Blanco. 5 innings, 3 runs, 6 strikeouts, had 12 whiffs on 92 pitches. Anything to add here? I mean, it's just like
it's just a guy.
3 walks, but pretty good whiffs. I don't know. Weird one.
Yeah, I'm not dropping him, but I also don't have him on any team. So I think he's a 4 ERA pitcher.
Who was that?
Ronel
Blanco.
Oh, yeah. Well, Chris hates him. I mean, he was really good last year, and I'm going to hold on to him until
right. I said I'm not dropping him.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
I just don't have him on any of my teams.
Sure.
We got some bad sparp starts here. Jackson Jobe, not great in his first career start at the Mariners. 4 innings, 3 runs, 4 walks to 3 strikeouts. He threw 61% of his pitches for strikes, which is a little bit low. And then Grant Holmes, pretty wild in his first start at the Dodgers. Obviously, really tough matchup. 4 innings, 4 runs, 4 walks to 3 strikeouts. Only threw 60% of his pitches for strikes. Anything that you guys saw from Jobe and Grant Holmes?
I mean, kind of worst fears being realized early on here for Jobe is against a weak Mariners lineup. Didn't throw enough strikes, didn't miss enough bats for my liking either. The whiff rate was okay, I guess, but not what you expect from an elite pitching talent against a bad lineup. And I'm not saying you move on from Jobe yet. I think the upside is too high for that. And I like Holmes' upside enough that you're not moving on from him either. But these are pitchers who I would say in the next 2 or 3 turns, if we're not seeing clear indicators of that upside, then we're probably trying out somebody else.
And the thing with Job in particular is it's just one start. It's his first major league start. I think those are reasonable caveats, but it's just continuing a trend where the stuff looks incredible. Like you look up any of the stuff plus metrics that are out there, they're going to tell you that Jackson Job looked like one of the best pitchers in the league in his debut. He had a 25% strikeout rate last year as a prospect, which is not great for a top prospect. He didn't get a lot of strikeouts this spring. It was like 19% this spring. And so there's just something causing him to not miss bats the way he should, whether it's the pitch mix, whether it's not finishing guys off, which I think the command wasn't great in this one. I noticed on a couple of two strike situations where he didn't put guys away the way he should have. The talent is obvious, and I'm going to keep betting on the talent, but it's got to come with something tangible pretty soon.
Again, that was Jackson Job that we were just talking about. Some hitting leftovers. Rafael Devers, more strikeouts. We need more. 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. He did walk twice, but he's now 0 for 19 with 15 strikeouts.
His bat speed is way down. His bat speed has been like 60th percentile the past couple of seasons. It was 60th after dropping at the end of last season. It was like 19th percentile through yesterday's games. It's a problem. I don't think he's healthy.
Bob, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, we don't have enough bat speed information to draw on. I mean, it's discouraging. Don't get me wrong, but it's just it hasn't been that stat hasn't circulated long enough for us to really draw comparisons to the past and that sort of thing. I will note that the Red Sox MLB writer, I'm blanking on his name, but he was pointing out that the specific issue is Devers not catching up to fastballs, and that this is throughout his career, he has had stretches like this where he struggles to catch up to the fastball specifically. And he cited 2021 as a year where he had multiple stretches like that. And if you go back and look at 2021, he had the second best OPS of his career that year in the end. I will also note, and maybe there's a new record being set with him striking out how many more times today? Twice more?
Twice.
Three times more. 3 times more.
Yeah.
So he had, as of yesterday, Devers had set the record for most strikeouts through the first 4 games. He beat a record that was held by both Ronald Acuna in 2020 and Brent Rooker just last year.
Those guys both had pretty good seasons.
And both of those guys had pretty good years that year. So it's because there's the lingering concern about the shoulder. Obviously, there's more cause for concern here. I'm not denying that, but I'm saying if you're looking for silver linings, you can find them. And I think if you have Devers, you have to, because there's been so much negative attention on this. You'd be selling him for nickels on the dollar.
I'll admit I did sit him for Cam Smith in one league this week, but there's no way I'd trade him or drop him.
Yeah, again, that was Rafael Devers. If you're wondering why we haven't talked much about the Cubs game, that's because it just went final a couple minutes ago, and we got the final line here. 18 runs on 21 hits for the Chicago Cubs, and Carson Kelly is the headline. He hits for the cycle in this game. He had 4 hits, 2 walks, 5 RBI, 3 runs scored. Kyle Tucker, 4 for 7 with a home run. I saw he hit that off of a position player in the 9th inning of that game. Michael Busch, 3 for 6 with 4 RBI. Dansby Swanson already hit his 2nd home run of the season. And Scott,
with the torpedo bat.
Yeah, I was gonna let you highlight a couple of the Cubs players are already using these torpedo bats as well.
Yeah, I mean the only ones I know about were I was writing about this last night, and so Swanson and Nico Horner were the 2 names circulating from their lineup who had been using it. They went a combined 5 for 9 in this game. Every Cub hit well.
Yeah, Kyle Tucker went 4 for 7 without using a torpedo bat. So
Michael Busch, well, as far as we know, Michael Busch 3 for 6.
I will point out, and this is going to lead to some bad stuff, but hearing a lot less about Pete Crow Armstrong from all the people who were bad mouthing us for his big spring. Where you at, guys? He had 2 hits today, but he has a 455 OPS through 4 games. It's nothing. But spring was nothing.
Yeah,
that's all.
We shall see. All right, wrap up with some bullpen stuff here. There wasn't anything too crazy for the Orioles. Felix Bautista got the 9th inning with a 5-run lead. He gave up 2 runs on 2 hits and 2 walks. His sinker velocity is down 2 miles per hour from where it was back in 2023. For the Rockies, Victor Vodnik entered with 2 outs in the 7th inning, a 1-run lead. Runners on first and second. He gave up a 2-run double followed by a 2-run homer. He took the blown save in that one. For the Phillies, Jose Alvarado entered in the 8th inning with a 3-run lead facing the heart of the Rockies lineup. He walked 1 but struck out 3. The Phillies tacked on 2 more runs. Jordan Romano got the 9th inning with a 5-run lead. He gave up a hit but recorded 2 strikeouts to end the game.
And his velocity was back to 2023 level, which is good to see. I feel a lot better about this as somebody who is invested in Jordan Romano in a couple leagues, most famously passed over Robert Suarez for him in 1 league. I thought this was good. You did mention Alvarado actually faced the heart of the lineup, so it is possible.
So I don't know what to make of that exactly. But,
and
it's clear they were lining up.
Yeah.
Jordan Romano for the save, and he looked good in the inning he did pitch. So it's a good sign. It's not conclusive.
Mm-hmm.
For the Blue Jays, Jeff Hoffman was unavailable after pitching 2 days in a row. It was Jimmy Garcia who struck out 2 for his first save of the season. For the Angels, Kenley Jansen was unavailable. Ryan Johnson got the 10th inning with a 2-run lead, gave up an unearned run, but picked up his first career save. And that was the kid, Ryan Johnson, who the Angels drafted last year, never played in the minors. Straight out of spring training, he went to the majors. I think he's one of, 3 or 4 pitchers to ever do that. So
he also gave up 5 earned runs in his first outing.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. Yeah, but that is fair. For the Giants, by the way, Ryan Walker was back in the bullpen here. He was lining up for a save. They tacked on 2 more runs in the top of the 9th inning. He still came in to pitch the bottom of the 9th. He struck out 2, so hopefully all is well with Ryan Walker there and the Giants. To stream or not stream on Tuesday, we have, Simeon Woods Richardson at the White Sox. I don't know if we can do it anymore. Those pesky White Sox. Anybody else here? Casey Mize at the Mariners. Logan Allen had a good spring. He's at the Padres, but I'm not sure I want to do that. Anyone else that stands out for Tuesday?
I just want to be I'm not streaming Simeon Woods Richardson. I still think the White Sox are absolutely worth streaming against.
Yes.
And if Simeon Woods Richardson has a good start today, I would not be surprised even a little bit. I'm not streaming Will Warren, but I want to watch it and see what he looks like. It's just a tough matchup. Wesnenski in a points league, I don't hate, but I'd probably try to avoid it. Casey Mize at Seattle is probably the most interesting one.
That's the most interesting one. But don't do it unless you really have to.
Yeah. On Wednesday, we have Jack Leiter at the Reds. Sean Burke is facing the Twins. Yeah, Wednesday is not great. Wednesday, all the aces are back on the mound, so it's a little bit tough.
Yeah, I think Jack Leiter looked fine in his first start, so I don't think he's a total stay away, but Cincinnati's offense has been pretty good so far, so it's not ideal. I would prefer not to.
Mm-hmm.
Jamison Tyone would give you a decent chance of a quality start there at the Athletics, but it could go poorly too.
Mm-hmm.
Landon Roop is someone I want to just watch and see what he does against the Astros,
Absolutely,
but not somebody I would want to start in that matchup. Let's wrap up with Team Name Tuesday, and if you have a fun team name you want to send in, email it to fantasybaseball@cbsi.com, and this one is from Adam. Cease your story telling.
Sure.
This one's from these two are
Frank didn't like that.
Welcome to the Yates of Helsley.
Sure.
Veen Green fighting May Cheen.
I mean, you don't have to stretch to get the third name in there. It was fine with just the first 2, Veen and Green.
And if you're gonna do it, you might as well go Veen Green fighting Mesheets, right? Just go all the way.
And I maintain that the best team name using Zach Veen is straight into my Veens.
Isn't there a backup catcher? No. Marchin or Marchan from the Phillies.
Yeah, there's a guy in the Phillies. Yeah.
Oh, that would kind of work too, but I don't know. This one is from Zach on X. Bazanas in pajamas.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
Simple.
That
It's
one.
good.
Yeah.
I like it.
This one's from Matthew, who says, I guarantee Scott will like this. Something witty.
Yeah.
So, Scott?
I would not. If Matthew's trying to sell you something, I would stay away. His guarantee is worthless.
This one's from Nicky Boy. Ben Rice knowing you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's because you make both of the first and last name work in a natural way there. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I like that one.
And Fetty Kruger.
Yep.
All right.
Sure.
These are from Danny. Dude looks like a love lady.
Yeah.
Honey Nut Chorio.
That's an oldie but a
classic.
goodie.
Classic. Boom goes the dynamite.
Also an oldie but a goodie.
And truly Adley.
That's phenomenal.
That's
You
great.
didn't finish
That is
saying it, Chris. Let him finish saying
Sorry.
it.
I'm sorry.
Truly Adley deeply. It's a great song.
It is good.
That's
good.
great. Love that one.
From Bernard, who foughted?
Yeah.
Boston accent. Who foughted?
Gosh.
Yep.
Fought bottom Guriels.
I like that one. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
Mm-hmm.
If the Richard fits, wear it.
Yep.
Gotta Jabot. I don't know this, but Chris, I think your mom is a Fish fan, so maybe she knows it. I don't.
She would almost certainly know Gata Jubo. I have no idea. I saw them with her last summer, and she would go like, "Oh, this is one of the good songs," or like the next song she'd be like, "I hate this one." I'd be like, "I can't." How do you tell?
Yeah, they're
It all
just they're all
sounds
like
the same to me.
they're like 20-minute songs, right, or something crazy. I don't know much about it. Mikasis Esukasis.
Yep.
Classic.
And Honey Nut Cheerios, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. That's-
I am. I'm not sure whether or not I'm looking forward to the Kris Bubic slate of team names. That could get dicey.
Yeah.
I will say, someone in the chat, Churio Speedwagon. That's the best Churio one I've heard so far. That's very good.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to wrap there. For Scott and Chris, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.